Hey guys, Tom here, and this is Not So Average Builder. Well, today I have got something in. I actually got it in before I went on vacation, but I've not had time to get to the bench until today. What this is a big box, and if you keen-eyed people, see that's from Spraygunner. It's about time that I retired my old busted compressor that I've had for a couple of years now. Actually, it's 2 years as of Christmas, and it's bad. I'll let you hear what it sounds like. I got the Tooty compressor. Now, what makes this different from the compressor that you can buy on Amazon, and you can buy the same ones on Amazon. These are made specifically for Spraygunner. That is why they call them the no-name brand by Spraygunner. It's a really cool thing that they've got going on, but this is their Tooty compressor. The difference between this one and the current one that I have is this right here. I always stress this, or overstress this, whenever somebody comes to me asking what airbrush setup they need to go with. As far as the airbrush goes, have at it with whatever you want. If you plan on doing this long term, obviously you want to get a better one, but some of the cheaper Amazon ones are okay. They do pretty decent. The one that I had did really well. The compressor was my weak point. So that is what I stress. Whenever you decide to go buy an airbrush setup, you've decided you're going to pull the trigger, spend money on the compressor. The compressor is your workhorse of the entire operation. It's what's going to ensure that you don't have too much moisture in there. It's going to ensure that you're not having to run the compressor all the time. There are certain aspects of it. Now, the reason why the Tooty was really important to me was because of this tank. This tank allows the compressor to only run some of the time. So it is a 3-liter air tank. I don't know the conversion chart right offhand. I'll try and find one and put it up here and tell you. But what that's going to do is going to, when you kick it on, it's going to fill the tank up with the air. When you start airbrushing, until that gets down below a certain level in here, that's when the compressor will kick back on. So for the most of the time, you're just going to have quiet noise of just airbrushing. That's going to do two things. One, it's going to keep you from going insane because of the noise, and two, it's going to prolong the life of that compressor. My compressor started going out after a year of use, and that was heavy airbrushing. You may get a little longer. If you're a diehard airbrush fan and you're spraying more often than I am, then it's probably going to be less, but that's just something you have to deal with in this. So as soon as this was in stock, I jumped on it. I know I've rambled on, but let's see what's in here. So in the box, you get an instruction manual, which pretty much all air compressors are the same. This one having a tank, the instructions are probably going to be a little different. They always recommend you bleed off what's in the tank when you're not going to use it. And that's another thing that's going to help out. This does have a pressure gauge as well as a water trap on here. I'm probably going to get a separate water trap or an inline water trap just to make sure that I'm 100% covered on this. You have your compressor on top and your tank on the bottom. And what happens is as it compresses air, this is normally where your air hose would go, like on my old one, and it comes down to the tank, fills the tank up, and then it comes out through here. It is still pressurized, so it is pretty solid made tank. So let me put my current compressor next to the Tooty, and I'll show you what the difference is. So as you can see, there's a big height difference, but two things that I can spot right offhand. There is a heat sink right here, so this is going to dissipate a lot of heat a lot better. Plus there is bigger vents on this side as well as the back side of this that are going to do that, and then you've got a heat sink on top. This one just has the heat sink on top and a few vents on the bottom. The biggest difference that I can tell you is the tank. Now this was just an Amazon special. It came with a Master Series airbrush. That is this airbrush right here. I don't have the back on it. And this airbrush did really well. This kit overall wasn't bad, but it quickly outran its purpose the moment that I used it 10 or 15 times. This started making noise. As you can see, my water trap is full of water. That's from a while ago. So that means this compressor is getting way too hot, and as it's heating up the air, or as it's compressing the air, obviously it creates heat. It's not dissipating that heat enough. So a lot of that's going in here, and this water trap can only do so much. And when that gets to where it is, I have to replace this, which I'm replacing the whole compressor, so it's neither here nor there. As this heats up and fills up and this becomes obsolete, you get more water in your line, and so as you're spraying, especially with acrylics, if you've thinned out your paints, each spray is going to thin them out even more. And eventually it's going to backfeed some of that moisture into your cup, and it's really going to thin it out. And you're not going to get the consistency that you want. So that's why this is very important. Second thing that I would like to note, this is also a little bit bigger of a compressor. This is a 1/6 horse, this is a 1/5 horsepower. They pretty much have the same shutoff, and they both have the suction cup feet. I think that this one's going to do better. On the table I have this on, I have to keep it at an angle, which also doesn't help it because it shakes too much and it likes to slide off. So I'm hoping that the added weight with this tank is going to help keep this thing in place even when it moves, so it doesn't move off the table. So fingers crossed that works too. This heat sink is going to really help out in heat dissipation. The electrical connection seems a lot sturdier. This one, it's made into the back, so there's a lot of heat going here, which is then adding into the heat of the motor. If I was spraying for a good solid 2 hours, this thing would be too hot. You couldn't touch it. And I'm sure that, and I could definitely tell a difference, especially towards the end of the compressor's life, that the hotter this got, the shoddier performance my airbrush produced. And that's because it's just too much moisture. It can't handle it. So let me turn this on. It's going to be loud because I don't have a hose hooked up to it. But we're going to turn this on, and I'll let you listen to what it sounds like. If you heard that high-pitched squeal, that's the piston in there allowing air to go past the piston. It's called blow-by. It happens on automobiles as well as compressors. Anything with a piston, even though this is an oilless design, it's the same principle. Air is getting by the piston, and it's absorbing that heat, and it's also pushing air from the case up in there. So you've got all this hot heat going in here. There's hot heat coming out of here. That equals moisture. Moisture is bad. If you're using enamels or lacquers, it's even worse, because you know that acrylic and lacquers in their non-cured form, in wet form, just don't mix. And so you're having that happen. And I did see a massive decline in spray capabilities from this compressor. So let me plug up the Tooty, and I'll show you the difference in sound. Again, it's going to run constantly because there's nothing blocking that. Now, that is a side-by-side comparison of how a proper compressor is supposed to sound. Even the Amazon one, when it was new, didn't sound that quiet. So this is already going to be leaps and bounds different as far as overall decibel quality. And the fact that it's not going to have to run as often because it has that tank is just going to make that much better. So I will be able to do more in-depth shots of spraying kits with the volume semi-up. Obviously, you're still going to hear the fan from the Arty Station booth, but that's it. That's all you'll hear is the fan. So I've done plenty of videos where I've just had the fan going, or I have done something, or just turned the music or the volume all the way off, just so that way you didn't have to hear this thing die. But even before that, it was super loud. You could hear it. It was annoying, and I was afraid that all compressors were going to sound that way. The Tooty has just blown my mind as far as decibels. It was the first time I turned it on. Yeah. So Spraygunner has these. This is in no way a sponsor video. I did buy this with my own money. I just wanted to show you. It's been a while. It's been a long time coming. I wanted to show you guys the difference between a cheap compressor that is not going to last you versus a quality compressor that you can pay a little bit more for, and it's going to do just what you want for a lot longer. This thing stays sold out. So when they get them in, they sell out quick. So when you see them on their website, and if you're in the market for a compressor, snag it. Snag it immediately. They do make one that, I don't remember what it's called, but it just is the compressor. If you're going to do short bursts, then that's okay. Do that. This is going to still probably last a lot longer than this Amazon one. But I'm telling you, spring for it. Get the one with the tank. You won't be disappointed. Your life, your ears, your wife, your girlfriend, your significant other will thank you in the long run. One last comparison. So I have my hairbrush hooked up to this, and I don't know if you can see on here the knot, but the gauge is reading 60 pounds. So I'm spraying, the gauge is moving. No paint in the airbrush, obviously, but just showing you. Now this is wide open. I can dial it down and do light. But we'll do wide open. So once it drops below 40 pounds, it kicks back on. Actually, I think it's 43. Okay, yeah. So it stops off at 57 pounds and it starts back up at 43 pounds. So if you wanted to, you could wait and let that build back up, spray some more. Once you get to a certain point, it's going to automatically kick back on. That is a big deal. And the biggest thing is, so I'm talking, it's still kind of loud. And because at pressure, it does get a little bit louder. But because the compressor's not having to run all the time, that makes a big difference. Worst case scenario, I could spray for a little bit if I'm trying to talk, let that shut off, and then start talking again. It is going to make a massive difference in the quality of my videos. I'm using a Rhodes microphone. It is a lapel mic, so it is on me, but it is a mic that can pick up surrounding sounds. So I'm sure it is picking that up. I'm sure that it is kind of loud, but it is miles better than this, hands down. But that's all I've got, guys. I will put a link in the description below for this. Again, this is not an affiliate link. This is not a sponsor link. This is something that I bought with my own money. I've been looking at for a while, and I wanted to bring it to your attention. But I will have that in the link in the description below. But that's all I've got, guys. Have a wonderful day. Bye.